thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are excited to talk to you about our 9th webinar in our 2023 series. And today we're going to talk about data apprentices, or data apprenticeships rather, at Amazon. What's available in the UK for the coming season. It's good to see that we've got a good number of people on with us today, and a nice selection of locations that people have joined from. I think we've also worked out that it's a very rainy day in Manchester, so hopefully it's a little bit brighter where everybody is located. So, my name is Liz Kingston. I am the UK Apprenticeship Lead for Attraction, Selection and Recruitment into the apprenticeship programme. We want to make this as interesting and as interactive as possible for you, and to allow us to achieve that, we're hoping that you can share some questions as we move through. We'll try and answer any of them as we progress through the webinar, and then what we'll do is the ones that require a little bit more sort of thought or interjection from the panel, we'll save and we will ask in the Q&A as we move through. It does seem to be raining with everybody who's responding in the chat box, so please keep the chat coming. It does make it a lot more interesting and a lot more interactive. Pop your questions in, and we'll make sure that we respond as we go. Just to hand over to my colleague, who is the programme manager that's joining us this afternoon. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you everyone for joining this webinar today. So as you can see on the screen, my name is Samantha Dickin and my role is a Senior Programme Manager here at Amazon. I've been with Amazon for just under a year. I'm coming up to my 1-year anniversary in February, which I'm excited about. But I have been working in apprenticeships for over the last 7 years. So I've seen a lot of changes in the apprenticeship industry. My role as program manager, just so you're aware of what that means, is I support apprentices with the onboarding, so welcoming them and joining the organisation, and I also support apprentices through their qualification and helping them prepare for that endpoint assessment to help them gain that qualification. And then we also look at the offboarding piece and helping them to find a full-time career within Amazon or AWS. So that's me. Thank you.
Fantastic. So over to our amazing apprentices that are here today to be part of our panel later on, and also to answer your questions as we go through. Guys, do you want to come on camera and just sort of introduce yourself, say a little bit about the scheme that you're on and your Amazon journey so far? We'll start with you, Sam.
Hi, my name's Sam. I'm on the buying and merchandising apprenticeship. I'm currently working within Amazon Fashion. So before Amazon, I did a lot of work at Next for visual merchandising, and eventually I just wanted to take a step up and just get into a more data approached role. So which is what I've went into more general merchandising. Yeah, so I picked up Amazon because it's a pretty data-driven company and a huge global brand. So the opportunity to learn whilst working for them just seemed like a great one.
Okay, Jessica.
Hi, my name's Jessica. I started my career in customer service and I changed over to data because I just love working with computers, and I've always had a love for programming. I chose Amazon because of the leadership principles. I sort of held myself to the same standards, and when I found a whole company sort of going towards that, I thought this is it for me. I'm doing the data analyst level 4 course, and it's quite a lot of fun, lots of challenges which I love, and currently I'm working in 3P.
Fantastic. That's our partner part of the business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And last but not least, Sinem.
That leaves me. Hello, everyone. So I'm Sinem. I am a data apprentice here at Amazon. I've been at Amazon just under 3 years now. So I'm working towards the level 6 degree in digital technology solutions. I'm working in the same department as Jessica. So we work with third-party sellers that sell on Amazon. And more specifically, I work in small business education and sort of all the data that comes with that, which can be very interesting at times. Reason I decided to do an apprenticeship was as at school, I was always very academic. I was super interested in technology. And so the natural path to me was university. And apprenticeships at the time weren't really advertised as something that was more than sort of maybe physical jobs, which is why I went to university straight from school. I lasted about 2 measly months before I decided that I wasn't suited to university at all.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to investigate a bit more into apprenticeships and found out that actually they are a lot more academic than I thought, and I could still get a degree. I stumbled across the data analyst apprenticeship here at Amazon, decided to go for it, and fortunately enough, I'm nearing up 3 years and lasted a lot more than I did at uni.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. I think having such great apprentices with really sort of different backgrounds and experiences and insights and sort of at different stages on their programs will hopefully resonate with some of the audience today. So thank you for that. You guys can have a bit of a break off camera while Samantha and I forge forward. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in a bit. So on to what we're going to talk about today. We've got loads of great information just in terms of a bit about the business, why choose Amazon for an apprenticeship in data, our leadership principles. So it's great to hear what Jessica was saying about how much they resonate with her as well. We will talk you through the programs. So Sam will take over and sort of guide you through what will be of interest to you in terms of applications. I'll talk about how we hire into the programs, and then we'll open the floor to Q&A with Sam and myself and the apprentices. So please do keep the questions coming. We will try and answer it. So if you hear a little bit of typing, I am paying attention. I'm just trying to multitask. So hopefully that's okay. So just in terms of asking for a little bit of audience participation, I wanted to see and ask you to share, and I'll answer some questions while you're doing this actually, what you think about when you think about Amazon. Just a few suggestions would be absolutely amazing. If you pop them in the chat, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Next day delivery. I'm a Prime customer, I have to say. I think I have far too many boxes arriving. Innovation, absolutely, Sophia. Federico, opportunities, definitely. Coming in on top of technology, yeah, there is a lot of innovation. I will be saying it a lot as we go through this afternoon. Knowledge, data-driven, AWS. Yeah, shopping, watching shows and services, definitely. Yeah, it's quite a few AWSs actually. Yeah, really, really broad. Fantastic, thank you. So when I was sort of thinking about joining Amazon, I haven't been here quite as long as Samantha. I've been here probably about 18 months or so now. I sort of thought about, you know, the boxes, and I've mentioned how many of those arrive at my house. Living in Manchester, there's an awful lot of Prime vans that I see. And then really the sort of like landmark buildings, you know, the absolutely huge warehouses, the fulfillment centres for us. And then some of the technology that sort of powers, if you like, the operational side of the business. So before I joined in this role, I actually worked for our logistics business, which is called AMZL. And when you look behind the scenes in the fulfillment centres, it's absolutely unbelievable. I think what it didn't really sort of occur to me was all of the other different businesses that sort of sit under the Amazon umbrella. And this is a really great sort of wheel that outlines all of the different sectors that we operate in, and all of the businesses that you may be really familiar with, some of which, I mean, I didn't even know that we owned some of these businesses, especially some of the newer ones. So it's really exciting to see how we move forward, how we evolve, how we innovate, and how we put the customer at the centre of everything that we do. And in there, obviously, we've got sort of Prime. I think a few people mentioned that in the chat. We've got studios who've been doing some brilliant work there, and I, for one, certainly enjoyed the new Lord of the Rings. So we're creating content as well as streaming it, which is really exciting. Ring, Alexa, Kindle, music, really the list sort of goes on. But we are a really diverse business, and I think as an apprenticeship provider, there is a stepping stone to get involved in lots of different diverse businesses in lots of different ways. So I'm sure our apprentices will agree with me when I say it's a sort of stepping stone into the world of Amazon, and really there is no limits there. I'm going to ask Career Map just to share a quick video with you, just to sort of give you a bit of an overview as to what we've been getting up to in 2022. So away we go, Career Map, please. Brilliant, thank you. Hopefully that gave you a bit of an insight into some things that you might not, or you might have known about Amazon. I find it really interesting every time I watch it. I think just in terms of, and we were talking before about some of the ways that Amazon's been innovating. We actually pioneered customer reviews. I'm not sure about everybody else, but I certainly look at those before I buy things online. One-click shopping, and that's obviously continued on to now be supported by Amazon Pay as an option. Personalised recommendations. Prime was an innovation that was spearheaded with customer in mind. Fulfillment by Amazon, not only do we ship our own parcels, we also ship third parties. Obviously, AWS has been mentioned a few times, and Kindle Direct Publishing. That's really interesting, I think, in terms of opening up the world of publishing to everybody. Kindle tablets, Fire TV. Obviously, we've got the Amazon Echo, we've got Alexa, we've got Ring. I think I've actually got all three of them. We just started with just walkout technology as well, which, really, if you look at the world of retail, even a few years ago, is so forward thinking. Amazon Studios, obviously, I mentioned in terms of them creating as well as streaming. And we launched last year, which is unbelievable, and I'm certainly going to be getting one when you can get them in the UK, is it's a new Ring camera attached to a drone, which flies predetermined paths around your home when you are not in. So if your alarm is triggered, you can wander off and just check out the house when you're not there. So yeah, we continue to innovate, and we certainly see that our apprentices have a really real place in terms of supporting us doing that, in terms of diversity of thought and sharing their vision. I'm going to hand over to Sam, who is going to talk us through what is an apprenticeship. I should say Samantha, not Sam, our apprentice,
Yeah,
just to get that straight. Sorry.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you so much for sharing that insight into Amazon. As you can see, it's a very, vast organisation and very innovative, and it's great that actually a lot of our apprentices have a lot of input. We've got apprentices in Alexa and Prime and so forth, so they have a lot of input into this innovation as well. But just want to talk to you now really about what is an apprenticeship, because I think there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of differences, different understandings around what an apprenticeship is, and they've certainly developed over the last few years. So an apprenticeship is a vocational program where you will gain a qualification whilst also gaining valuable industry experience. So it's a structured learning program where you'll spend partly your time at college, with the training provider, or university, depending on the program, and also partly on the job. And it allows you to study towards an accredited academic qualification, whilst also gaining those strong professional experience and those behavioural skills. You're also financially covered because an apprenticeship is funded by the Amazon Apprenticeship Levy, so it's a government funded programme, and obviously you'll earn a salary whilst learning as well. So it's a really great route in order to be able to gain qualifications. On this slide as well, you'll also see the different levels of apprenticeships. So we have a wide range of apprenticeship opportunities, and they all align directly to the UK academic qualifications. So for instance, you have the intermediate, which is a level 2 qualification that's equivalent to GCSEs, and there's a pathway all up until the degree level 6 and level 7, which is equivalent to a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. So Amazon is a perfect place to learn new skills and to really take hold of those opportunities. We have apprenticeship schemes that suit candidates with different backgrounds, different qualifications, or different career aspirations. We have lots of diverse apprentices on our programs, and in 2023 we will actually be delivering, offering, should I say, opportunities in the following specialisms. So we've got digital and creative, we've got sales and marketing, operations, engineering, technology, and business. So there's lots of opportunity out there for the apprenticeship programs. So this year is actually a really big year for Amazon and our apprenticeship schemes, because it marks our 10-year Amazon apprenticeship anniversary. So we started with 3 apprentices back in 2013 on our RME, so our engineering apprenticeship scheme, and we now have 2,683 apprentices on programme. So as you can see, we've got a huge community of apprentices. The programs are trial and tested, and they are working really, really well. Because of this 10-year anniversary, we are a key sponsor for National Apprenticeship Week, which is in partnership with the Department for Education, and we're running a series of events that you can get involved with to really learn more about our apprenticeship programs and have a good understanding of what we offer. So I would encourage you all to join our splash page, where you'll be able to see all of our events that are taking place through National Apprenticeship Week, which starts on the 6th of February, and you can register on our Eventbrite invitation so that you can be a part of those. So please do join those, because it's a great way to find out more about our programs and opportunities that are available. So what is our apprentice vision and, at Amazon? And I think it's really, really clear. Working in apprenticeships, it's very clear on what our vision is. We want to invest in apprenticeships, and investment is in our DNA. We want to invest in the next future technologists, the next project managers, the next data analysts. We know that apprentices bring fresh perspectives to our organisation, and they really challenge our status quo. So we want to continue to build that talent pipeline, and also continue with the support and growth of our apprenticeship programs. So I'll hand you back over to Liz now, who can talk to you a little bit more about our culture and our leadership principles at Amazon and AWS.
Fantastic. Thanks, Samantha. Okay, so to enable Amazon to grow at the pace it does, there's two things that are really important to us as a business, and I think we've probably mentioned them a few times already, but essentially it is, culture and innovation. And the way that we sort of distill all that down is to live and breathe by our leadership principles. They act as a guide as to how we hire people into our business, and also around how we evaluate your success once you're with us. There's lots of information on this slide. You don't need to read it all. Some of the key messages, though, are we have 16 leadership principles, and what they really should do with you is resonate with how you operate, what you think about, how you behave, and how you want to be perceived. And I know when I was thinking about joining Amazon, the ones that really sprang out to me were the customer obsession piece, starting with the customer and working backwards. And for me, in my role, everybody that applies for an apprenticeship is essentially my customer. So I need to think about creating a pathway that's engaging, informative, and hopefully enjoyable. Ownership is a really important thing. And again, one that resonated with me really, really strongly in terms of Amazon takes a long view and encourages people and really defines success for people that say, that's not my job. Everybody needs to get stuck in, everybody needs to contribute, everybody needs to be a positive influencer to those around you. So it's really, really important that, that is an environment that you're looking for. Learn and be curious, I think, is in the sort of foundation principles of being a great apprentice. You constantly need to learn, you need to push yourself forward. If you don't know, you need to ask. And curiosity really sort of drives the desire to see things from different perspectives, and that's a lot of the way that innovation arrives within the Amazon business. And then that earn trust. Listen and being open and being respectful and recognizing that, other people have great perspectives, and, listening to them really helps build a collaborative way of working, and create an environment where, everybody is valued for their contribution and insights. We've mentioned before in terms of the customer, and what we're encouraged to do here at Amazon is start with the customer, and think about what the customer wants, and then work backwards from there. And that's how the sort of leadership principle of customer obsession really sort of pulls through into our daily work as well. It's also really important to sort of share with you that all Amazonians are different. We celebrate you being you. And we create career journeys that want to attract apprentices into our business that reflect our customers. And that's in terms of diversity of thought. We have 13 affinity groups globally, and we're hoping to create an apprenticeship affinity group as well. And they are hugely wide ranging. You can be really active in terms of the affinity groups, or you can be quite a passive member and just sort of pull down on the communities and the insights. But we really do sort of celebrate difference and encourage people with similar backgrounds and similar experiences to come together and learn from each other. So I'm going to pass you back to Sam, who is going to talk you through some of the programs that we have available in 2023.
Thank you. Thanks, Liz. So as you can see on the screen, there are a lot of programs that we are offering. So I just want to talk you through these and talk you through the information that you can see. So if you can see on the left-hand side, it says advanced learning programs. And what this means is our further education programs. And these programs are more practical programs. So you really learn those skills to be, for instance, a digital marketer or an information communications technician. And you'll notice that there's different durations. So depending on the level of the qualification determines the length of the program as well. You'll also note that our qualifications do require you to have an English and Maths GCSE. You must have lived in the UK for the last 3 years and also have the right to work in the UK. On the right-hand side, we have our degree programs. And again, you'll be able to see there's different levels. So for a bachelor's degree, it's equivalent to a level 6. And again, there are different durations, but typically they're between 36 to 48 months. And then we also have the finance and accounting qualification, which is a level 7. So that will be equivalent to a master's degree. But for all these programs, as I've mentioned, you have to have the right to work in the UK. And these programs are offered all over Amazon and AWS. So depending on the program really determines where you'll be based. So you could be based in our delivery stations or in our fulfillment centres or even in our corporate offices. So it really just depends on what pathway you decide to take. So I'll just talk to you a little bit more in detail because, we really want to focus on data analysts, and we've also got a slide on buying and merchandising today. So just want to give you a little bit more information. I can see lots of questions in the chat around eligibility. So I'm hoping this will answer most of your questions. So just to be really clear, this year for 2023, we are offering the data analyst level 6 qualification rather than the level 4 qualification. So this year it will be the data analyst degree qualification. So it's a level 6 and the duration is 36 months plus EPA. EPA stands for your endpoint assessment, and that endpoint assessment typically takes around 6 months to complete. Our roles are based in London, so you will need to be available to work in London. So that could be either relocating, or if you're based in London, then that's great. But as I mentioned, it could be in all of our locations, such as delivery centres, fulfilment centres, and corporate offices. So the prerequisites for this programme is that you need to have at least 5 GCSEs, C grade and above, or grade 4, depending on when you completed that qualification, and they must include maths and English. Because you're starting at that level 4 program, so even though it's a level 6 that you join at a level 4, it means that you'll need to have that level 3 qualification. So that could be a 2 A levels, it could be an extended diploma, it could be a level 3 apprenticeship or equivalent. We do take into consideration overseas qualifications, so we just need to get a transcript on what that looks like. But at least one of those level 3 qualifications needs to be in a STEM related subject, so that's science, technology, engineering, or mathematics subjects. The qualification that you'll gain is a BSc in Digital and Technology Solutions. What I'd like to point out is this is a really holistic program. So you'll not only learn about data, but you will learn about the digital industry. So you'll have modules around like cybersecurity or IT project management. But as part of this degree, you'll have data pathway specific modules. So at level 4 and level 5, you'll really branch off and start to really focus on that data analyst pathway. So what will you expect as being a data analyst? So a data analyst apprentice at Amazon means that you'll work with large amounts of data and information. And as I've mentioned, you'll be based in either our office environments or one of our busy logistical centres. You'll learn different stages of the data analysis lifecycle through gathering requirements and then inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data with the goal of discovering useful information, solving problems, and supporting the business to make informed decisions. So what will you need to succeed as a data analyst apprentice? So you really need to be analytically minded, as you'll be working with lots amounts of data and information, which will require you to have a good eye for detail, accuracy, and the ability to manage workloads whilst prioritizing tasks. You'll want to be a natural problem solver with a keen interest in how data can be used and help businesses. And you'll also need to be a strong communicator, as you'll be liaising and sharing with a variety of technical and non-technical teams. So you'll really need to be confident in adapting your communication style depending on who your listener is. So the next program we want to focus on is the buying and merchandising apprenticeship. And the reason why this is a part of this data analyst webinar is because this sort of program actually requires a lot of data and trend analysis and working with numbers. So we really wanted to highlight this on the webinar. So this program is a level 4 program. So this is much more practical program. The idea is that you'll learn those skills and then you will apply them to the job itself. The duration of this program is 24 months, and the locations for our opportunities are based in London and Manchester. The prerequisites for this program are 5 GCSEs, grade 4 to 9 or A to C, again depending on when you had that qualification, and you need to have at least a C or above in maths and English. The qualification you'll gain as part of this buying and merchandising apprenticeship is in a level 4 apprenticeship in buying and merchandising. So what will you expect as a buying and merchandising apprentice is that you will learn about cost-effective buying and inventory planning, coordination of marketing and merchandising activities. You'll need to have an interest in data, numbers, and how to apply these commercially to create effective buying strategies for Amazon and our customers. You'll need to have a drive for collaboration and working with retail teams across supply chains, product management, operation and marketing, and you'll start to really drive process improvement within our organisation. So what you'll need to succeed as a buying and merchandising apprentice is that you'll want to make a real difference whilst learning and developing your customer service skills. You'll need to have a passion to drive processes whilst using data, product creation, planning, reporting, and just managing our ever-evolving business. So I hope that gives you a little bit more insight into those programs and the expectations around them, and also the prerequisites for joining those particular programs. So what is it in general that we're really looking for when we're recruiting our apprentices? And the first one is really aptitude. So the apprenticeship program is designed to help you become a data analyst or become buying have a career, in buying and merchandising. So we don't expect you to have experience, like wealth of experience in these industries, because that's the idea of the apprenticeship program, is it will train you to have one of these careers. So we're really looking for that aptitude and those specific interests that you have within these programs. So you really want to make sure that you get that across, so that we can see that, you know, you've researched and this is really the career pathway that you want to undertake. We're looking for the right attitude. So we want to see that you've got a desire to succeed and continue your learning, and that you are committed to the apprenticeship program. So here at Amazon, we're really proud of our retention rates and our completion rates. And so we want apprentices to be able to start our programs and also complete them and gain those qualifications. So you've got to really have that attitude, the right attitude, to be able to succeed. And then we're looking for that ambition. We want to make sure that you're committed to your career choice, you're committed to Amazon or AWS, and you want to continue to develop your career and grow with us, and that you align to our leadership principles and that you can really resonate with them, so that you can be successful within our organisation. So I'll just hand you back over to Liz, who will be able to talk to you about our application process.
Thank you. Okay, so we wanted the application process to be quite simple and very straightforward, but also comprehensive, and definitely a two-way process in terms of helping us to understand why you might be the right person to join Amazon as one of our apprentices, but also make sure that we're the right business for you. And Sam touched on essentially, you know, what we're looking for in terms of that ambition, attitude and aptitude. So our opportunities open on February the 6th, Monday, February the 6th, to coincide with National Apprenticeship Week. And stage one is really applying online. We'd like you to share your CV, and we also recognise that some people might have a CV that covers, you know, 20, 30 years worth of commercial experience, and other people might have a CV that reflects them just, you know, leaving secondary education, for example. So it's really important to put into the CV things that you feel would support your application, and that might be doing a bedroom coding test. One of our RME apprentices, in one of our earlier webinars, the RME apprentices basically ensure the smooth running of the fulfillment centres. And his hobby before he joined Amazon was he really enjoyed sort of tinkering about with cars and taking them apart and putting them together again, which is a brilliant example of a set of skills that would just, you know, support him in his application. So have a think about those sorts of things. We'll ask you to complete the eligibility questions, and they are all available on the website that Samantha mentioned. On our programme pages is a sort of matrix which goes through the eligibility for each of the programmes in terms of qualifications and right to work and locations and all of that sort of thing. So just make sure you take some time to apply for the right programme, dependent upon your ambitions. That takes about 30 minutes. You will then proceed through to an online evaluation. And that sort of is two parts really, dependent upon the programme that you apply for. The first part would be a sort of video interview, quite short. We'll ask you 3 questions that are around why do you want to join Amazon, what's attracting you to the programme that you've applied for, and have a think about the Amazon leadership principles and tell us which ones resonate with you and why. So again, I think just really have a think about how that fits together. And you can hear my little dog barking. And then if you are thinking about joining an IT program, and a couple of the engineering programs also have some short tests, and they're really to evaluate your levels of competence. There isn't a pass or fail mark. It's just to sort of see where you are on the scale. From a coding perspective, some people have been doing it for years and absolutely love it and will probably be a sort of expert coder, and other people might have gone on a course in their local library, but they've still had some exposure to it. here at Amazon, from an apprenticeship perspective, we will very much teach you the skills, but we also need you to bring the will. So that really sort of sits alongside the attitude and aptitude as well. And then the third part is a virtual assessment centre. So these are being done online this year again to enable as many people to join us as possible. And that will conclude of a group it will be a group exercise and a presentation. You'll also be able to speak to some of the hiring managers and really sort of ask them questions, as you know, they'll essentially be representatives of the team that you'll be joining. Okay, so now Grace has stopped barking, which is hugely helpful. We're going to move on to the panel exercise. So Samantha's already back. If I can ask our apprentices to put themselves back on camera and on microphone, then we can get into some of these questions. The dog has just seen somebody walk past the front window. And she's not hungry, Bobby. Thank you for everybody's concern. I have a lovely little dog called Grace, who most of the day stays quiet, and she's now just decided to chirp up. If you've got questions that you want to ask our panel, please do put them in the chat. I've picked up a couple of as we've been going along. Please excuse me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. I think it's Shenzi is asking a question, I think probably to Sam Mantha. And it's, if I currently work in operations, would I be able to do an apprenticeship such as data analyst in my current role?
So not in your current role, so you'd need to apply for the apprenticeship role, and then you could obviously take that you could do that program. However, if you are in like a data related role, we do have internal apprenticeship schemes, but for these particular programs you would need to apply for the role itself.
Fantastic, thank you. Here's a question from Adita, I think. How many data analyst apprenticeship positions do you offer? Is it more than just for one person? That's a question for you, Sam. Mantha.
How many data analyst apprenticeships do we offer?
Yeah, how many positions? So I think, did you say that they're in Manchester and London?
So the majority of them are in London this year, but we may have 1 or 2 vacancies in Manchester. There are 44 vacancies that will go live this year for the data analyst program, so that's how many positions we'll have available.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so we've got some good questions here for our apprentices as well. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you want to be the first to answer, but I think all of you will be able to answer these. What commitments do I need to make once I become an apprentice at Amazon? And that's to our apprentices.
I can answer that one. So you're expected to dedicate 20% of your time to learning, so the course that you'll be doing. The rest of the time will be working in your respective teams.
Sam, Sinem, do you have any?
Yeah, I suppose I can add to it. So yeah, you will be committed not just to your qualifications, so that'll be whether lectures or assignments or coursework, but then also working within your team, whether that be projects or meetings or any other trainings that you want to pick up. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. I've got a question here, again with the name pronunciation, please excuse me. I think it's Athila, and the question is to Samantha. I'm nearly 20. I took my A-levels about 1.5 years ago. Is it too late to apply for an apprenticeship?
No, absolutely not. You're perfect timing actually. So as long as you've still got the certificates and you can demonstrate your achievements, then you can absolutely apply for our apprenticeship schemes. Obviously, just with the caveat that you meet the eligibility criteria.
Fantastic. And another question for you, Samantha, and then I'm going to move back to the apprentices, if that's okay. So I think it's Rajat, who has put, I have a master's in applied maths. I have a feeling I'm in the wrong place. Is there an answer to that question?
So you're in the wrong place if you want to do the data analyst apprenticeship,
Yeah.
because and that's a really good question. So thank you for asking that, because you've just reminded me that although we have the prerequisites for eligibility, the idea of the apprenticeship program is around learning substantive new skills. So if you've got a higher qualification in the same subject, we won't be able to demonstrate that you're learning those new skills because you already have that higher qualification. So for instance, if you've got a master's in maths, you wouldn't be able to apply for the data analyst program because that's a lower level. However, you would be able to say, for example, to apply for project management, because that would be completely different to your maths qualification, and therefore you would be able to demonstrate that you're learning new skills.
Yeah. Fantastic. Majana has put in the chat here, what are the hours that you work to our apprentices? So I suppose that may vary for you guys with the different roles that you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the standard full-time working hours, but like there is a lot of flexibility around that as well. So, like some days it does depend on the team, but some days we could start later and then or other days we can finish earlier and then just make the time back elsewhere. But yeah, it's very flexible.
Yeah, I think all of these are based on our corporate offices. The main difference in terms of sort of hours tends to be if you are looking at an apprenticeship based on our operations business, because they are a 24/7 business, so they work on a sort of rotational basis as well. But I think because all of these are based in corporates, Samantha, correct me if I'm wrong, it sort of follows a 40-hour weekly working pattern.
Yeah, I will just mention the data analyst. There are some roles based in our operational centres, so our fulfilment centres. So that can vary because obviously it really just depends in the team that you're in. But with operations, for instance, it works slightly different. There are more hours because obviously it's done by an hourly rate. So it's a bit more structured than say corporate, where there's a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah. I'm just going to answer this question to Marla dead quickly. A TA manager is talent acquisition. So I think you probably need to have a think about the data analyst or the buying and merchandising. Sorry, we should have probably made that clear on the slide. Okay, so here is a question back to our apprentices. Is being an apprentice what you thought it would be? Fastest finger first on somebody's put their hands up. Ah! Go on, Sinem.
Short answer is no. I think, especially at the time, you often think the apprentice is sort of making coffees, a bit like your work experience. But it's so much more than that. You're working on things that actually have impact. You're working with senior stakeholders, and the work that you do really does make a difference. And is used. It's not sort of. It's a lot more than what you think it would be.
Does anybody else want to add to that, Jessica or Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. I think a good example is, so last week I took charge of running a deal event on Amazon, and like I have complete control over that, and you get that kind of if you want it, of course, you can get that kind of responsibility, so you can really put yourself out there to make a difference.
That's amazing. Wow.
I don't mind adding on to that. As Sinem said, it's not what you're expecting. I expected a lot more sort of control over what I was doing from management level, but they do give you quite a lot of freedom, which I find really good because it gives you the chance to sort of experiment and be innovative and learn a lot more through what you're doing. So it is quite good.
Brilliant. Thank you. We've got a question from Anjali, and it is, can we apply for more than one apprentice programme? Sam, do you want to, Samantha rather? This is terrible.
I know, we're just confusing things,
do you,
aren't we?
Sam's probably sat there going, no, I don't know anything about this. Samantha, would you like to answer that question? So just again, can we apply for more than one apprentice programme?
Yeah, so the answer is yes, the short answer. However, I would encourage you to really think about the apprenticeship program that you want to pursue. So, for instance, if it's a data and software, you know, they're very similar programs, they're the same qualification, so it's completely understandable that you would want to have an opportunity probably in both of those specialisms. What I wouldn't do is just apply for all apprenticeship programs. I'd really think about what is your pathway, where is your skill set, you know, where do you see yourself going on your career journey, and then I'd start to really narrow it down and apply for the ones that you're really serious about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just a question back to the apprentices as well. Again, fastest hand first. What's the best thing about being an apprentice at Amazon?
It's just learning to do something you really love, because I've always had a passion for computers, technology, and I've got a job now that teaches me how to use these skills. So it's quite a good thing to have.
Oh no, the dog's barking again. Do Simon and Samuel want to add to that, or should we move on to the next question?
I can add to that. Yeah, I think the best thing is sort of having the freedom to pursue what you're interested in. So when I expressed that I wanted to work a bit more in project management, my managers were super happy for me to pick up a project and do that. And then if I decided actually maybe I don't want to do that, I can try something else. And sort of having that flexibility to learn and try different things.
Fantastic. Sam, any finishing points from you?
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Like I was working in a team with a lot of like product developers and like kind of building tools to how we would analyze the data, and like that was something I was also like kind of interested in, and then I got a lot of projects doing that as well as doing the buying and merchandising stuff. So it's pretty like if you want to try and learn something, they will give you the opportunity to do that as well.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm just going to answer a couple of the questions that have been coming up. I think, Daniel, I know you joined a bit late. No, we haven't answered the question in terms of salary. The salary really depends on the programme that you do and your sort of location as well. The salaries for apprenticeships at Amazon are up to 32,000, and you get paid on a monthly basis like any other Amazonian. So, you know, we believe that it's a really strong proposition, and you know, you're not paying for the cost of your degree as you would be if you're going to university with you know, fees and all of that sort of thing as well. So that's just quickly the answer there. Here's a question from Patience. Any advice on somebody as they are confused about which apprenticeship programme they can choose from the list? I have a passion for tech, but I don't know where I fit in, as I have no experience, but I'm passionate about it. And that's going to be a question for Samantha, because you cover the data programmes as well.
Yeah, and I actually look after all of our technical schemes, and you are right, you know, the technical programs all do feed into each other. So for instance, you know, with software engineering, you do a lot of coding, but you also do a lot of coding in data as well. So what I'd encourage you to do is have a look on our website, and on our website, you'll be able to see the apprenticeship standard. So this is another thing, sorry, that I forgot to mention, but our apprenticeships are delivered around what we call an apprenticeship standard, and that's the curriculum. So I'd have a look at the exact curriculum and really try to match your skill set and your passions against what is it that you enjoy most, where can you see yourself fit in, and then that will really help you narrow it down to what tech program is really right for me. For instance, if you can see yourself coding and, you know, sitting behind a computer and looking at code, looking at where there might be problems with code, then you might want to look at the software engineering route. Or if you wanted to do more around data, data, analysing data, looking at trend analysis, looking at dashboards, data modelling, then you might prefer to go down a data analyst route. So have a look on our website, have a look at the curriculum, and then look at the skills and behaviours that you need for that programme, and then really start to think about where you see yourself best fit.
Thanks, Samantha. That makes sense. So we're coming to the end of our panel section. I just have one question. It's for everybody on the panel, actually. So again, fastest hand first. But the final question is, do you have any tips for someone thinking about becoming an apprentice at Amazon? Okay. Thanks, Jessica.
It's just when I was applying, I had a lot of sort of self-doubt, thinking, oh, I don't think I can do this. I don't have the skill or the knowledge to get into this. But just try believing in yourself. You will learn on the job. And then when you apply, feel free to ask questions. No question is a stupid question. You will get the support you need.
Absolutely. I think that comes back to the skill and the will piece, doesn't it? Amir, the website you need to have a look at is amazonapprenticeships.co.uk. I'll put it in the chat. Does anybody else on the panel want to offer any tips or recipes for success in people's applications?
I think if two bits of advice here, I think the first is to think carefully about what it is that you want to do. I wish I had this conversation back when I was applying for opportunities at school. I would have done something like this a lot sooner. And then I think the second thing is to really have that willingness and keen to learn. Like we don't expect anyone to come in with already skills or experience. We're here to teach you. All that we ask is that you demonstrate that passion to learn and develop.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I just completely agree what's just been said. But yeah, just having that like willingness to learn, and once you're in, like, there's so much support. Like you can like ask any question and it'll always be answered. So like you'd never feel like that you're like underskilled for what you're doing.
Fantastic. Okay. Any final words from you, Samantha?
No, I say no, and then I was just about to say something. So
No,
yes,
but yes.
but yes, I do have a few final words. I just want to say, please do apply if you're interested in our apprenticeship schemes. Like the apprentices have just said, we're not looking for experience. The idea of the program is to help you change your career or help you start your career. So please don't feel afraid that you don't have experience in data and so you can't apply, because that is the idea of the apprenticeship program, and you'll absolutely get the support from Amazon to help you progress and gain a career in one of those specialisms.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you to our panelists. You can say few, switch your cameras off and your microphones. We're just going to close down the session. So thank you for joining and sharing your insights. Just moving on to the final bit. So we're really hoping by this point you're not thinking, should I join Amazon? You're thinking, how do I join Amazon? What scheme's right for me? And then how do I make it happen? So all of our schemes open for applications on the 6th of February. I've put in the chat a couple of times just where to go to look for more details. We've refreshed our website for this year, so make sure that you spend some time looking at all the different tabs on the website. There's some really interesting information and loads of great interviews and sort of snippets and sort of one-to-ones with current apprenticeships, or apprentices rather, to let you know what it's like working with us. Our programmes start in from July to September, again based on which scheme you're applying for. So you need to be available to start then, and don't delay your application. We are going to be looking at them as they arrive. So please don't think, oh, I've got till sort of May, June to get my application in. I would really think about doing your research, starting to think about your CV, starting to think about the programme, start to think about why they're right for you, how they fit your ambition, your aptitude and your attitude, and make sure that you apply for the right ones. Don't delay. If you do need some support as well, or any reasonable adjustments, we have what we call an ACAT team. So they're an application assistance team, and they're there to support you as well. If there are additional questions, please access the mailbox, which is apprenticeships@amazon.com. The recruitment team is there to answer any questions for you as well. So just to finish on, thank you for all of your questions and how interactive you've been as an audience today. We hope that we have inspired some interest in Amazon, and look forward to hopefully maybe meeting up with some of you in the future. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon and rest of your week. Take care. Bye-bye.